guard him man-to-man. But there were times I had to get him man-to-man.
And favorite team that you guys love to face in your division?
Yours.
Yes, sir.
Like the game, like you play against the Raiders, you might get 3 sacks, and they had Jamarcus Russell, which I did. So I got 3 sacks on them in the first half, right?
Yeah.
And I'm ready, and they take Tommy Maddox.
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to West War Room Rivals, where rivals collide. This is our Sunday morning pregame show, and I'm joined with my comrades here in the War Room in the JBW Solutions studios. Gents, how we doing? How was your guys' week, and how was your weekend so far?
Hello.
We'll skip the week, but the weekend's been pretty good so far.
Yeah.
All right.
The week can go F itself, but
Whoa.
We had like 5 consecutive Mondays. It was a rough week.
it was.
Yeah, absolutely. Careful, Matt. You might get bleeped like Caleb did.
Yeah, such a potty mouth, Caleb.
I know.
We do want to give a couple of shout outs, though, to Des and Drew of the Sports Balls Pod for joining us on Monday, and then Brianna, who joined us on Tuesday. Shout out to you guys for our guests this week. Great episodes. I was unable to make it to the Brianna one, but I was watching back some clips, and it was a lot of fun. It seems like there's a lot more that she's diving into since we last talked to her in the off season. So, shout out to her and shout out for her to come in to hang out. So before we get started, though, let's do some sponsor shout outs before we get started. And first off, we want to shout out Vidite Coffee. If you guys want to get Vidite Coffee, go to Amazon.com or ViditeCoffee.com to get your order today. My wife's best friend loves it. I drink it almost every morning now. I need to probably place an order pretty soon. And Caleb, I don't see your coffee in the screen. Are you out or are you?
I am out, but I have my bottle from the other day right here.
Okay. And I've sampled both, and I am a big fan of the latte one. The latte one is my jam for sure. So, Corey, I think you mentioned you had some colleagues that are looking to order some more.
They are, and they like the latte one. And I know I said the other day that I wasn't a coffee guy, but I did taste a little bit of the latte one. It's good. So I told my coworkers if they buy some, make sure they put some in the office, and I'll help drink some, but not I'm not a coffee, so I got to ease myself into that because I don't want to become a coffee addict. Because I like that Matt and I can say we're not the coffee guys.
No, you guys just pound energy drinks. I think that's much worse, but that's fine. All right,
my life.
And then shout out to Rival Codes. Check out rivalcodes.com. Use the code Rivals10 to get 10% off your guys' merch. Unfortunately, my shirts are dirty right now, nor do I need to wear them because the regular season's over. But if you guys want to use Rivals10, you guys can get 10% off your Rival gear today. And then, of course, Field Ops Kansas with Troy, Emporia State Federal Credit Union with Angie, and, of course, again, the man that helps us run the show, Jeff with JBW Solutions, as we are recording out of the studio. So, gentlemen, I think it's time to get started into our first topic, the opening one, which I don't know why this is the leadoff topic, but here we are. Who will be the Raiders' next head coach? So
I just want you to know that we're trying to keep the Raiders spirit alive for you.
I know. I appreciate it. I mean, there is a little bit of fun with the fact that we're searching for another head coach. I feel like this is the 6th off season. Yeah, it feels like
future ex-wife.
Yeah.
All my exes live in Texas. So, but there has been lots of rumors. Obviously, the Raiders aren't the only team that is looking for a new head coach, but obviously it's the one that I most care about because it's in our division that we're talking about. You've heard the names of John Harbaugh. Let's see. I'm blanking on a couple of names right now, but that's
you just got to name one who the next coach will be.
Well, I don't know. I want it to be John Harbaugh, but I don't know if he's going to be the next coach. I feel like he's got better suitors. Yeah. I don't think he's going to. I feel like there's some other teams, but I guess right now, if I'm looking for the flashiest hire and one that might spark some energy, I'm thinking probably the typical Clint Kubiak, because he's got one of the hottest offenses right now in Seattle. Young coach. He's not old, and maybe we just need some youth injected in the Raiders locker room. I've heard some rumors of like Brian Flores and Brian Daboll. I don't know how I feel about that. I think that's okay, but I don't know. I think what makes it tough is another offseason, another new coach. And until I see production on the field, it's hard to get excited for another head coach, but we'll see. I had more excitement last season with the whole Ben Johnson sweepstakes, and then we had Pete Carroll, and then that happened. So that's where I'm at.
And let's be real on. This is like the least attractive job that's opened right now. I think the only thing that they have going for them is they have the number 1 overall pick. But outside of that, like,
well, you could be the Jets. I think the Jets is almost as bad.
Yep, they're not open. Like, they still have their coach for now. Of all the openings, this is by far the worst one. And I know I'm not trying to say that just to say it. I'm literally saying,
yeah.
How can you pitch a job to a coach and try to explain to him why you fired 2 coaches in the last 2 years?
And you have a GM that you're going to have to work with, not one that you're bringing in. You got a GM that's been there now. And essentially this GM is hiring the coach that he vibes with and not the other way around, where you usually bring in the pair of them. So this is going to be an interesting offseason. And Tom Brady, of course, minority owner, is going to be leading this charge. So it really depends on who he thinks is going to work out well. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, if reports are right, he was the one that chose Geno over Sam Darnold. So if that is true, that's not a great start. So
yeah, I lean towards, I wouldn't expect the flashy hire. Like, I don't think Harbaugh, I don't think he wants to be in the same division as his brother. And then if you look at some of these other guys, it's like, what do you really want that to be your first job? Like, you're going to have to, like, yeah, you can say I get a 4-year, 5-year contract, but you win 4 games next year and they don't like how it went. See ya. And then now you're back at square one. So, yeah, I still would, like, this would be like a Matt Nagy type job, honestly.
God, I hope not. That would be an inside job where he would sabotage us on purpose. I think what makes it tough is, and I can only speak to my fandom, so you guys would have to tell me if, like, the early days of Sean Payton or Andy Reid were anything where the fan base, they are very quick to just say this isn't working and hit the reset button after, a handful of games. But I know from years of, being in circles with Raider fans that if the first 4 games don't go how they want it to, then they want somebody else in there immediately. And I don't know if that's the right move. It's kind of like, and I don't want to say we need to be very critical of whatever the head coach is, but at least the fan base that I see is very, like, hit or miss. Like, they either love you or they hate you. And if they hate you with a vengeance. And if you're a player on the Raiders, it's really hard to, like, want to win for the fandom, because they will just cut your throat, if you throw the wrong pass. I'm not saying that Geno Smith was absolved of anything, but just in general, like, whatever the head coach is, they're going to come in with a very hostile fan base that's very quick to just say you're not good enough, even though, like, there's not enough evidence that says otherwise. So I think that's what makes this interesting as well, is will it even satisfy the fan base, and how quickly until they say this isn't working, we need another person. So
one thing I've noticed is Raider fans think their team's way better than they actually are. And that's not you. That's not you.
Right.
Just some of the Raider fans in general, and Matt Caleb also, I don't know if you guys feel that way, but it's like they talk a lot for thinking their team should be like they should be a playoff Super Bowl winning team now with that roster. It's like, are you actually a fan? Like, have you actually looked at your roster? Like, what part of your roster did you think was going to be that caliber? Like, right. Maybe that's just me.
No, I get it. And I completely agree. Like, I have seen it a couple of times, but it's like when you think of the Raiders, the only name that stands out, and for good reason, is Max Crosby. But I guarantee you none of the other ones are like, man, that guy, like, we got to re-sign him. Like, you let your 1,000-yard receiver go. Like, he clearly was unhappy, and now he's got a shot to make a playoff run. So everyone that leaves the Raiders usually does bigger and better things. Khalil Mack, Max Crosby is probably going to go. Jacoby Myers is in the playoffs. So, like, there's 2 teams in the NFL where players go to die and coaches go to die, and that's the Browns and the Raiders.
I mean, you're not wrong. I think what's even funnier, too, is, like, maybe the writing was on the wall earlier this offseason with Jacoby Myers, who dealt with what we thought was a toxic situation last year with AP, and I'm forgetting who the GM was there. He was former Chargers GM. That's right, Tom Telesco.
Telesco.
But anyways, he was fine with the rotations of quarterbacks that had to be played throughout the season. But yet 10 minutes after Pete Carroll and he brings in his staff and Chip Kelly, he was like, no, trade me. Like, either extend me or trade me, but I'd rather you trade me. And maybe that was the writing on the wall where it's like, wait, why is this guy who's been super consistent, one of our better offensive players, why is he like, nah, get me out of here like ASAP? Like I appreciate my teammates, but I need to get out of here very, very quickly. So that probably should have been a little evidence of that. And then again, additional reporting with Brendan Carroll, the offensive line coach, about how bad he was. So this whole season for the Raiders, I don't know who of our fan base is thinking that we have like the best team. We just need the right leadership. Like, we need so much more than just a coach. Like, we need offensive line, defense. We need some players that are going to be productive and not quit. We need so much more than what we saw this season.
I think we can make this a whole hour just doing on the Raiders, but let's get.
And I'll be the first one to keep doing it too. So
let's get into the important stuff.
All right, let's. Two of our AFC West teams are in the playoffs right now, and this morning we've got a huge AFC wildcard matchup with the LA Chargers visiting Gillette Stadium to play the New England Patriots. So, Caleb, this is a pretty huge game for the Chargers fan base. We've been on TikTok Live a bunch of times this week, and Chargers come in waves. They're already saying that they're moving on, going to meet the Broncos in the whatever the next round is, or they're going to go to the Super Bowl. So, Caleb, I know you're very timid and you're not trying to put the cart before the horse, but I need you to preview this matchup and tell me who your X factors are and your keys to victory so the Chargers can move on to the divisional round.
Yeah, so I'm super excited for this game. I've actually done a ton of research on this game. I feel like I'm playing or something, like I'm back in my coaching basketball days. But anyways, I guess I'll start out with my X factor. So my X factor offensively is Justin Herbert. In my opinion, he's the most important player to a team in the whole playoffs this year, as far as a single player goes. Because if he goes down, we're toast, to be honest with you. I think he's got to get past the narrative that he can't win a game. He can't win in the playoffs. He can't win in the playoffs, which we haven't so far. So rightfully so. But with that being said, so far this season in primetime games, this is obviously Sunday night football game. So in primetime games, he's 5-0. Drake May's 4-0. So we've got one of them is going to catch an L this year. So super, super excited for him. And I think he is the X factor as far as like he's got to bring us to the promised land. Like he's got to be the one to do it. It's not going to be our running back room. It's not going to be any other position offensively other than him this week. So it is easily him. And he's one of the top quarterbacks that the Patriots have played this year. Mm-hmm. So far this year, they've played Tyler Huntley, Tua, Spencer Rattler, Bryce Young, Cam Ward, Dylan Gabriel, Michael Penix, Justin Fields, Brady Cook, Quinn Ewers.
Sounds like some elite names right there.
Exactly. So, like, as far as that goes, I think it is a little more favorable to him as far as, like, they haven't played that competition all year. So I think that portion of it kind of leads to him a little bit. But defensively, I'll move on to the defensive side. I kind of rambled a little bit right there, but my X factor is Deion Henley. So the Chargers, they've given up the second highest percentage of scramble rate at quarterback this season. So I think if he has that job of spying Drake May, I expect him to be the spy, and I expect him to be a huge factor in this game, not only in the run game, because we already know they have an explosive run game. Their running back room has been really, really good this season. So I expect him to fill some holes there. So he's my X factor defensively. But my keys to victory, so defensively, we don't need to allow explosive plays. So The Chargers are one of the best teams in the NFL at not allowing explosive plays. So I hope that trend continues today. And the Patriots, they're one of the best teams offensively at having explosive plays. So that's going to be a big time matchup for us. And then I will say the Patriots aren't great in the red zone because typically most of their points come outside of the red zone on explosive plays. So we've got to be able to stop those explosive plays. And we don't need to let their running backs get going early in the game, kind of get that run game eliminated early. And by doing that, or I think how we need to do that is we got to score touchdowns early in the game. And a lot of them. If we can score those touchdowns early, that takes the run game out a little bit. They got to throw a little more. Chargers, we actually have a pretty decent pass defense compared to our run defense. So, yeah, I'm super excited for this matchup. And I know I rambled a lot there, but I've done a lot of looking into numbers and watching film and stuff. I guess boredom and excitement. But, yeah, I'm excited for this week.
I can't wait. I can't wait to get your play-by-play analysis today when it starts going on. So, Matt, you are somewhat of a Patriots. I won't call you a fan, but obviously Mama Williams, who is a Patriots fan and sister's a Patriots fan. So on the Patriots side, what are the X factors and keys of victory for them to defeat the Chargers?
Well, starting with the defense, I don't know if you can pull the numbers up right there. I don't know if you're able to or not. But one thing I did notice about the Patriots defense, and it's all kind of all over, is they allowed the fewest red zone drives through 17 weeks. Only 32% of opponents' drives ended up in the red zone. But when they get in the red zone, there's success there because, like Caleb said, their red zone defense is trash. And again, look at their numbers, though. They're not allowing a lot of points. So that's where the Patriots defense flourishes. Is like Caleb said, all their points, most of the points come from outside of the red zone. So what's going to have to happen for this Patriots defense is take advantage of that Chargers offensive line. They are struggling to protect Herbert. He is running for his life every single game. So, but Herbert always finds a way. Somehow he finds a way to get out of trouble. So the Patriots are going to have to be able to, one, flush Herbert out of the pocket, but set a trap him. They're going to have to trap him somehow. So they got to contain him, set the edge, make sure he can't escape, and just bring him down because they got a lot of talent at receiver. You know, Trey Harris, Quentin Johnston, Ladd McConkey, O'Dondre Gadsden. You know, all of them are known for have been making explosive plays. So Marion Hampton, if he gets free out in open field, he is hard to bring down. So they're going to have to be able to contain that on the defensive side of the ball. And offense, I mean, look at that. They're the third-ranked offense. They're putting up 250 yards a game. And look at how many points they're scoring. The Chargers have been known to kind of collapse. That defense does kind of collapse when things get tough, and you see them get flustered very easily. So for the Chargers defense, again, contain those receivers, keep Travion Henderson from breaking off big runs. He's been having a great rookie year. If they can contain Henderson and keep Drake May from having his way from this game, I think the Chargers can get a hold of it. But, I mean, as you see there, these teams just match up very well with each other.
Yeah. It's going to be a really good, really good matchup, and one that I know Caleb's excited for. Honestly, it would be kind of cool if we had an AFC West divisional matchup or, you know, championship game if we ever get to that point. So I think that's interesting. Before we move on to the next topic, Shovik Brothers, do you have any initial thoughts to this game? We won't give our picks until the end of the show, but do you guys have any initial thoughts on the game?
No, I'm going to stick with what I've stuck with at the beginning of the season. I just believe that the Chargers are going to charger until they prove that they won't. And that really does rest on, I think Caleb nailed it perfectly, on Herbert. Unfairly, it is going to come down to his shoulder, his legs, his back, everything. So again, it won't necessarily, it could be, right? We got to watch it, but it won't necessarily be all his fault if they lose this game. I kind of want to throw that out there that, you know, the narrative doesn't have to be that Herbert can't win in the playoffs because let's be honest, he's the reason they're in the playoffs this year. So, I mean, we'll watch the game, but at the end of the day, it is going to come down to Herbert, just given the state of the offensive line and the people around him.
Yeah. I'll I won't go too deep into it, but I'll say that I think if the Chargers are going to win, it's going to have to be because of their defense.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think Owe and Khalil Mack are going to have to show out this game. And I know you put Henley as your X factor and being a spy, but I think if you're two edge, and Owe's actually looked really good since he got acquired.
Who's the weird one?
Which
Tui
one?
Pelotu.
Tui Pelotu also. Like those edge rushers, I think Drake May can be had. Yep. Right. Like and I'm not sitting here saying that those guys are Myles Garrett, but obviously we saw what that offensive line looked like against, Myles Garrett and the Browns. And I think if you can put pressure on this young guy, it could help. But I mean, at the end of the day, this place is going to be rocking. Foxborough is a tough place to play in January, cold. I think someone said it was going to be in the 30s, so it might actually end up being a heat wave. But yeah, if the Chargers are going to win this game, I think it's going to your defense is going to have to steal a couple possessions and give your offense a short field.
Can I add one other thing too, just real quick?
Go for it.
So
Austin's done with that.
So like to Austin and Corey and Matt's point for this matter, so if the Chargers win this game, this will be the worst offensive line statistically to win a playoff game in the history of the NFL, or at least since it's been tracked. So, So yeah, I think it's really lays on Justin Herbert, like me and Austin were talking about.
Yeah, I think defensively, I'm curious to see how Derwin James kind of impacts the deep throws that, Matt was talking about it statistically, to see if, Derwin James is going to make a huge impact in preventing those, big plays. I'm curious to see how Stephon Diggs kind of gets dealt with offensively for the Patriots. I'm curious to see how the Chargers kind of negate all that. I will say, though, I think what Justin Herbert needs is, the team's going to be on his back for sure, but he needs his pass catchers to catch the ball. So I'm going to look to Keenan Allen to be kind of like his safety blanket. And I'm going to see Keenan Allen probably get like 15 targets, but he needs to bring in minimum 10 to 12 of those and move the chains. I feel like if the Chargers can get the chains moving and keep the Pats defense on the field and wear them out, they could outlast in that way, even with the bad offensive line. But if that pass rush gets home because that offensive line is not holding up, then Justin Herbert's going to be in for a long, long afternoon in this wild card matchup. And, it'd be, again, Chargers charging if that's the case. But, again, really great matchup. Really to test the Patriots on a team that wins major games. And then the Chargers, can they actually win in the wild card to move on in the postseason? I think this is a great matchup for both teams. So. All right. Anything else before we move on to the next game that we'll be talking about?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you for saying, sir. All right, guys, let's get into League Recon. So we are going to be reviewing the Rams and the Panthers wildcard matchup. It actually came down to the late seconds of the fourth quarter, surprising enough. Just a quick recap before we kick it over to the rest of the team. But Panthers were losing pretty early on, and then they stormed all the way back. They were, I think, down by only 3 at halftime, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. And then they led for the game for some of the fourth quarter, and then it went back and forth for a minute. And Panthers defense just really gave up a late touchdown, and Panthers just weren't able to respond after that. But the Rams defense, I think, was the surprising thing to allow 31 points to an 8-9 team. Not to say the Panthers, didn't deserve to be in the playoffs, but I think we all agreed that this shouldn't have been this close. So, Corey, I think I want to kick it off with you. What surprised you the most in this matchup?
Well, yeah, the struggles of Matt Stafford did a little bit, but I know when we were watching it, man, you got to give credit in the first maybe 3 quarters for the Panthers were getting after Stafford. And I think there was a play where I think he got hurt, and I think the Panthers noticed that he wasn't kind of the same. And then they really started teeing off, and Giro Evero started calling more blitz plays. But again, he's the MVP, and I know you can look at it. It wasn't the best statistical game for him, but my God, that touchdown pass he had to Parkinson down the side, that was huge. Quarterbacks that's going to make that throw, and then what were we saying? That last drive was basically 12 and 17. It went Puka to Devontae, back to Puka to Devontae, and then that set up for that. So Panther fans should be excited. I think a couple internal changes on the defensive side bring in a couple pieces, and I think they'll be fine. But yeah, I think the way that Matt Stafford kind of played most of that game was kind of the surprising part.
Yeah. Austin?
Yeah, and we all know, we obviously didn't have a preview show. We know that I took the Panthers in this game, so I'll explain why. Obviously, the game's already played, but two things is the Rams defense has been pretty bad as of the last 6 to 8 weeks.
Yep.
And we know how much we like coaching, and I think, whether Bryce and the offense could execute or not was going to be one thing. But I believed in, was it Canales, to call a really good game, and he did. And Bryce was dropping dimes, so the execution was there. But Matt's going to appreciate this second one that I'm going to throw out there. And it's the special teams. Rams have been booty on special teams all year. I mean, they've switched coaches. They've switched kickers 4 times, and they actually ended up having a punt blocked. So I'm not entirely surprised with how the game came down to being close, because I did pick the Panthers. But I think with the Rams, unless there's a turnaround, I don't think they're good enough defensively or on special teams to really make a serious run. It was kept close against the Panthers and whatnot, but the teams are only going to get better from here out, right? You don't get a bounce back game or two. So you can't afford to lose the special teams matchup. You just can't. Not against, the Eagles or whoever you're going to play. I want to talk more about the Panthers, though. The Panthers, I think, they're going to be fine. Between Tet McMillan and Coker, Chuba's still signed up for a little bit. Who knows if they bring Dowdle back? They've spent money in draft capital on the offensive line. They can do that a little bit more. And I was telling my brother during the game that, I like the Evero at D coordinator. I remember him with Denver. And he's got that defense flying around. Mike Jackson out there making a bunch of plays.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a castaway from, I think you said Seattle is where he was. And he's over here. He was making play after play. So I want to give a lot of credit to the Panthers. They technically could have been playing with house money since everyone wrote them off. It was a 10.5 point line. All this nonsense. But, they have players defensively between J.C. Horn and Derek Brown, and the future's definitely bright for Carolina. It's one of those where you felt better about Carolina even though they lost. And if you're a Rams fan, you're worried because 2 aspects of the football are not clicking right now. At some point, Matt Stafford isn't going to be able to will you to victory. If it's close, he probably will. But 2 parts of your team being down like that, it's going to be rough. So I'm just glad it was a good game. Credit to the Panthers. And then I guess we'll see if the Rams can have a bounce back game in the playoffs.
Yeah, we'll see. Matt, what were your thoughts on the game?
So one, and to Austin's point too, because he brought up special teams, one of their turnovers was off of a special teams play, that muff punt. The Panthers had 2 turnovers, the interception and then the muff punt, and the Rams were able to capitalize on both those turnovers, I believe. So, again, if you think about it, like what Austin said, the teams are only going to get better from here. So if you have a team that was a little bit more, I don't want to say the Panthers are unorganized, but if you have a well-defined and, well-tuned machine that doesn't make those mistakes, that takes care of the ball, doesn't commit too many turnovers, this game could have been a different story for the Rams. And it almost was. Look at the Rams offense, 3 for 13 on 3rd down, which is surprising considering the weapons they have on that offense. And, Sean McVay usually flourishes on 3rd down plays. I think they have one of the highest success rates on 3rd down. They went 3 for 13, so, they did get after Matt Stafford. They were only able to sack him once, but the game's not all about sacks. If you can flush someone out of the pocket and throw that timing off between player and receiver, it doesn't have to be a sack. If you can disrupt the play, it is successful. So, yeah, I think the Panthers are going to be fine moving forward, but they were able to minimize those turnovers. Even the Rams, they were kind of their own self-destruction. They had 9 penalties for 83 yards, and they're one of the most disciplined teams in the league. So it's only going to get tougher from here. So it's I'm kind of curious to see how the Rams are going to do moving forward.
Yeah. Caleb, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, really, I kind of agree with you both of what you all said. overall, I mean, when Matthew Stafford kind of dinged up his finger there in the first half, right before halftime, I think that kind of messed with him a little bit. But overall, I wasn't as impressed with the Rams as I was earlier in the season. To be honest with you, I think they might have peaked a little too early this season, because down the stretch here, they've lost three. They lost 3 out of their last 6 games, I believe was the stat. Could be off on that, but yeah, overall for this game, I was really impressed with the Panthers, man. I think they've got something brewing there for real. Corey and Matt called it before the season, and to be honest with you, I wouldn't have called that. So that was a great take by you all. But like you all said, I think they just need a few more pieces, man. This game, Bryce Young looked really good, if we're being honest, because he threw 1 pick and it was batted and then it was tipped. So it was kind of a like, what the heck? Like, if you saw it. But overall, I think they've got something really special there, especially if Dowdle comes back. I don't know if he will. I think he can get a running back 1 pay, to be honest with you. But if he comes back, they got something really special going, because basically everybody on their team is on really, really cheap contracts for the most part, or rookie deals. So, I mean, they have potential to add some guys, that kind of thing, this offseason. But I guess back to the game a little bit. The Panthers, what's crazy is them and the Rams are right at each other defensively for points allowed per game. And I don't know why that caught me off guard, but I guess Greg Olsen had said it earlier in the game, and it just kind of threw me off a little bit, because they were stopping the Rams pretty consistently, like not letting them score touchdowns there in the second half, or even at the end of the first half, until obviously they ended up giving up 31 or whatever. And I think part of that contributes to having a really tough schedule that they've had. But yeah, I think they've got some really special pieces. I was really impressed with Mike Jackson. I believe that was his name. That Austin was talking about. He had a play on Puka there. It was like a red zone kind of a go route. Incredible coverage. And then he had an incredible pick too. So overall, I think the Panthers have something special.
I think this is the kind of game that the Rams needed to, I wouldn't say get their defense in line. I think their defense is going to be what it is now. I think after 6 weeks of it being kind of average, if not below average, where they're kind of giving up big plays and they're not stopping the run as much as they used to anymore, I think their defense is what it is. And I don't know if that's a scheme difference. I don't know if that is based on injuries or different personnel. I think the Rams defense is what it is. And I think what it was earlier in the season was elite. It was like top 5, at least at the start of the season. Now we're lucky if it's like in the, somewhere between 15 and 20 ranked. And I think right now the Rams defense is just going to have to be bend and don't break. Like, just don't give up the lead, but you're going to be playing probably behind some of these games, because offense sputters in the first quarter a lot. For some reason, Matthew Stafford and this offense, they have a slow go at some of these games. And the reason why I led off with saying that they needed this game is because this is one of the first games in the last 5 weeks. And I'm not going to include the Cardinals game, because they kind of waxed the Cardinals on that. But their previous 5 weeks, to Caleb's credit, they lost 3 out of those 5 games. They lost to Atlanta. They lost to the Seahawks in that last minute overtime game. And I think they lost, I'm forgetting what game it was. Actually, Carolina, ironically enough, that was the 3rd game. So, and in those 5 games, they lost 3 of them. Carolina was one of them. So this is kind of a bounce back, but this is a great test for the Rams to like show that they can still hang in the late stretch of the game and pull it out. They were the better team, the better coach, not the better defense. We can agree on that, but they did enough to where they took care of business. So if they play the Seahawks, or if they play the Eagles or the Niners or whatnot, this is kind of that game that they needed a gut check of like, okay, we need to make sure that we stay close towards the end of the game to where we give ourselves a shot. Granted, this was the first game that Devontae Adams was back in about 4 weeks. So getting him acclimated in the offense, took a little bit of adjusting, but I feel like with McVay and with Stafford, especially with the game that they had, I feel like that this is the game that they needed to make sure that they are going to hang tight, because the playoffs are going to get harder, to everyone's credit. Everyone is saying that. But I feel like this is that game where we thought on paper they should have waxed the Panthers, but they needed that gut check to let them know, like, hey, you got to respect every team that you step on the field with. You can't just assume their record is going to let you dominate XYZ, especially with, again, the Rams had a chokehold on the NFC West and fell to the 3rd seed and are lucky that they didn't, there wasn't another team in the NFC that had a better record than them, or else they probably wouldn't even make the wild card, ironically enough. So again, I think with McVay and this offense, I think they'll be okay. They needed this kind of close game in the high stakes that it was. And I think when they go on the divisional round, they'll be a little bit sharper, I think.
Charger fans should probably take notes. Quit getting ahead of yourselves.
I do want to say, though, Matt, you always point this out about how there's no outrage for the Rams for being considered overrated. Broncos always seem to do, and they find ways to win, but the Rams seem to lose these games or let games be closer than they should be, and they seem to be like, oh, look at this resilient team. So I'm sure this is carrying on that narrative for you.
It sure is, and it's funny because, and I call it people that just can't think for themselves, because I think one of our guests from our live show on TikTok kind of said, like, ESPN watchers, they're listening to what these experts are saying, like frauds. And it's like such an overused term. And Austin said it yesterday, like, can we use like a different word? Because nobody knows what that means now. Because if you're going to hold the Broncos and the Patriots to that standard, like, oh, they're not beating these good teams. The Panthers are 8-9, and the Rams were heavily favored at the start of the season to go to the Super Bowl, and they struggled. But, oh, that's just a gritty team. They found a way to win. And if this was Denver right now that pulled off this win, oh, they're frauds. They should be one and done. They're going to get bounced the next round. So, again, like, quit regurgitating what Nick Wright and all these other experts are saying and start thinking for yourselves. Like, look at the numbers and respect your opponent.
And start tuning into the war rooms. That way you guys get your news here. So
it's like, yeah, Nick Wright, you clown.
Yeah, you doofus.
All right, guys, let's hear words from our sponsors, and we'll come back with the next wildcard matchup. West War Room Rivals is sponsored by Emporia State Federal Credit Union. Learn more at esfcu.com. Text or call the number 620-342-2336 to get started today. ESFCU is the Shovix banking of choice, federally insured by the NCUA. This episode of West War Room Rivals is brought to you by JBW Solutions Industrial Safety Services, your remote safety partner no matter where work takes you. From the job site to the office, JBW Solutions brings OSHA 10 and 30 training, plus a full lineup of compliance services straight to your screen. Whether you're a small crew or a major operation, they make safety simple, accessible, and effective. Visit jbwsolutionsllc.com to learn more today and stay compliant wherever you are. West War Room Rivals is sponsored by Field Ops. Kansas sports fields just got an upgrade with Field Ops. Looking to reserve top quality sports fields in Kansas? Whether you're organizing youth tournaments, adult leagues, or weekend pickup games, Field Ops is your go-to platform for discovering and booking the best athletic fields across the state. Instant online reservations, detailed field info such as locations, amenities, and photos. Field Ops is also trusted by coaches, organizers, and athletes. From Wichita to Overland Park, Field Ops has got you covered with real-time availability and streamlined scheduling. Get in the game at gofieldops.com/Kansas-KS. That's gofieldops.com/Kansas-KS. All right, guys, welcome back to West War Room Rivals on the Sunday morning pregame show. My apologies for the false start. I was going to say that we're going to preview the Bills and the Jacksonville Jaguars matchup before too quickly, and then I hit that button to start. But again, shout out to our sponsors.
Yeah, your finger game's strong.
That's right. Shout out to our sponsors, Vidai Coffee, Rival Codes, Field Ops, Emporia State Federal Credit Union, and JBW Solutions. So, Corey, I'll let you kick us off then, since you gave us a nice little jab there. What's your little poke there?
Little poke. Finger jabber?
Let's get back to business. All right, we got serious business to talk about. What are your thoughts on the Buffalo Bills and the Jacksonville Jaguars matchup? As you were on live, you've had some people sway you one way or the other. So, what are your thoughts on this matchup? And yeah, let's go get into it.
I got you all switched to rattle, don't I?
You did. That you got me.
You're adorable. You really are. But that's what happens. That's what happens when the Broncos don't play this week. Like, what else? What else are we supposed to do, Matt? Like, it's just, it's just kind of cuckoo, right? Like a little cuckoo. Yeah. So Bills Jags. This has been a hot topic on the lives, on the TikTok lives the last few nights. And my friend Mike, who's pops in and says Duval is he that makes his grand entrance. Who's flying higher than the Jags right now? Trevor Lawrence is playing some of his best football of his career the last half of the season. Liam Cohen obviously has got his guys going. Then you look on the other side, Josh Allen. He's the guy. It's I saw some clowns on ESPN who said that this was Ryan Clark, shocker, said that this loss, if they lose this game, it would be strictly because of Josh Allen. That's not fair whatsoever at all. Go back and look at the last few postseasons. It wasn't Josh Allen that lost those games. So I look for Josh Allen to do what Josh Allen normally does, right? But who's going to be on the skill position side outside of James Cook that's going to step up and help this quarterback out? Is it going to be Dalton Kincaid? Is it going to be Shakur? Is it going to be Shavers, who's kind of actually, he's shown signs of being, a guy who makes big plays, but you're going to have to find someone outside of Josh Allen and James Cook on the offensive side that's going to help you win this game, or it's going to be, surprisingly for the Bills, it could be a long day.
Yep. It's a good one. Caleb, I know that your team most recently is the one that played Jacksonville and lost, unfortunately, and got a clean sweep on the AFC West. What are your thoughts on this matchup between the Bills and the Jags?
Yeah, overall, I'm excited for this game, man. I believe it's the first game of the day, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a great way to start off the day, if we're being real. But overall, this matchup, Trevor Lawrence and the Jags, they've been balling lately. I mean, balling. Liam Cohen's easily top 2 to top 3 for Coach of the Year right now. And then Josh Allen in the playoffs, I mean, you can never count Josh Allen out in the playoffs. Like, you just can't. But overall, I agree with Corey. I think Josh Allen needs more than that, more than him and James Cook to win this game. He's got to have some skill position guys make some plays. Keelan Coleman, man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
You've got to do something, man. It's time to put up or shut up. Put up or shut up. Get out of there. Whatever you got to do. Like, you just got to suck it up, play better. I don't know what more there is to say about him. But they've got to have some guys play because Josh Palmer's out, and he's been one of his more consistent guys when healthy this year. But yeah, the Bills, they need more than James Cook and Josh Allen to win this game, and then the Jags, they just need to continue to play Jags football.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think they can pull this out. But I'm excited for this game. It's a great way to start the day. Ready to get it going.
Nice. Matt, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
So I've been going back and forth all week. I'm probably still going to go back and forth. But, I one thing I do notice about Buffalo, I mean, rightfully so, like, they do rely heavily on Josh Allen and James Cook. James Cook is leading the league in rushing, and Josh Allen is, Josh Allen. So they do rely heavily on them. And the reason they are, though, is because that receiving core is just lacking. Like, it is failing Josh Allen left and right. Kincaid is a ghost. I mean, he is one of the Allen's favorite targets in the red zone, though. Allen looks for him every time there's a red zone snap. He's looking for Kincaid, and I get it, but like, you need to start getting these tight ends involved. You need to start getting these players involved. These third down, again, crucial third downs. Your players have to come through for Allen, because how many times have we seen him? And like Corey brought up, the last few postseasons, Josh Allen has this team on his back, and he does whatever he can to put them in a position to win, and they're just not coming through for him. So that whole team needs to be firing on every cylinder and then some. They do have a pretty solid secondary there in Buffalo, but I don't know, man. Like, Liam Cohen just has this Jacksonville team, and it looked rough. We saw early in the season Liam Cohen yelling at Trevor Lawrence, like hit him in the chest, and Lawrence just shrugs him off. And now they seem to be meshing well together, and that team is just playing well together. They're very, very well-rounded. The defense is leading the league in takeaways in the fourth quarter at that, and that's where the game really matters, is in the fourth quarter. So it's going to be a slugfest, I think. It's going to be a very entertaining game to watch.
Yep. Austin, what are your thoughts?
I respectfully disagree with all of them. I don't think the Bills need more than Josh Allen. Not even James Cook, but if he shows up, cool. I think they can win with just Josh Allen. He's been that guy. Yes, the Jags have flown through the regular season. This is still a lot of first-time playoffs for some of the Jags roster and for their coach. Their defense is really good against the run, but they're still a beatable defense as long as you don't turn the ball over. And as long as Josh Allen doesn't play loose with the football and takes care of the football, I think Josh Allen's going to do Josh Allen things. And I think that's more than enough for Buffalo to win this.
And I will say Jacksonville actually has 31 players on their roster right now that have playoff experience and have played in meaningful playoff games, as well as Liam Cohen, obviously, with the Bucs last year, has obviously experienced calling plays in the postseason. So it could go either way.
It's still his first as a head coach, is what I said.
I mean, that's a good point. I think what I was going to carry on is the Bills don't have as many weapons as I'm sure they've had in other seasons, where they were probably a better team a couple of seasons ago going against the Chiefs or Bengals or whoever, just on a skill level position. But I think what's consistent is how Josh Allen is always being the Superman.
Yep.
He's, I think, a career postseason, he's completing 66% of his passes, 25 touchdowns to only 4 interceptions. And then you look at a player like Trevor Lawrence, who and again, I'm sure he's had other postseason success. Their only most recent one I remember is Doug Peterson's first year, where they kind of were surprising teams and unfortunately shocked the Chargers. But, Trevor Lawrence, though, still barely has a 60% completion percentage in the postseason, 5 interceptions, 5 touchdowns. I'm almost wondering, even though he's coming in with maybe a little bit more experience in season, playoffs are still a different atmosphere. And to, Austin's credit, a lot of these Jaguars, some of these players do have some relative success, or Corey, I think you made this point, but the Bills, though, for the most part, again, this is just a thing that they come in doing. And at least in this matchup, I'm more confident in the Bills being able to pull it out. It is in Jacksonville, so that kind of favors Jacksonville in a sense. But Buffalo, that just means that they're not playing in snow. Because normally they're in Buffalo right now. They're playing in 3-degree weather. So to them, go to Florida and probably playing in 40-degree weather, to them, that's oh, this is perfect. Now we can run the ball with James Cook. Now we can really beat up this Jags team with Josh Allen. And what I get concerned with is, yes, Jacksonville has had a really good regular season run, but at least in the time I've watched the NFL, and I'm sure you guys would agree, the hottest NFL team doesn't always win the Super Bowl or go that much further in the playoffs, because the regular season is not the same as the postseason. Postseason really shapes how you are. And I don't know. And I know that we'll give our game day predictions later towards the end of the show, but I would trust the Bills a little bit more, just because they've done this before and they played really good football towards the end of the season to get to the position that they are now. And I'm not taking anything away from the Jags. I think they had a great season. A lot of things fell their way. Liam Cohen in the running for Coach of the Year. But I just feel like the Bills are coming in and favored for a reason. It's not by accident, in my opinion. So,
yeah.
All right. Let's move on to the NFC wildcard scene now, where we have the San Francisco 49ers going to Philadelphia, playing the Philadelphia Eagles. So very, very interesting matchup. The Niners super injured going into this. They don't have all their key players. The Eagles kind of came in, not injured, but just not playing very well in general. If it wasn't for them being in the NFC East, they probably wouldn't even make the playoffs, just with how their schedule was or the teams that they played. But Matt, I want to kick this over to you. What do you see in this matchup between the Niners and the Eagles?
Well, despite all the Niners injuries, again, missing Fred Warner and Bosa, don't sleep on that defense. They've actually been doing very well in these last few weeks. Yeah, they didn't really end the season. Well, the last couple games of the season didn't really end well for them. However, they are still playing well enough. Like, they could make a deep playoff push. And one thing I've been saying about this offense in regards to Philly's defense doesn't really have those edge rushers that, like, are disruptive enough to stop a guy like Christian McCaffrey. So you already know they're going to be force-feeding McCaffrey in this game. I'm sure Purdy's going to get plenty of attempts as well and get the ball off, but I can already see them force-feeding McCaffrey, and he just has a field day against Philly. This is a game that could go either way, but if you look at Philly's game against Buffalo, in that second half, they only had 17 total yards. So when Sirianni's offense gets figured out, that team just shuts down. So there's no adjustments made. Nobody knows what to do on that coaching staff in Philly. So I feel like if Kyle Shanahan can figure this Philly offense out and their defense out, it's going to be a long day for Philly.
Yeah. Austin, what are your thoughts on the matchup?
I think this will be one of the better games. I'm going to lean towards experience coming into this game. Both these teams have been here quite often in recent history. If we go off the regular season, we probably do have a little concerns with the Eagles offense, just with how they've looked. Niners defense being banged up. But these are two organizations. They're used to being here. I think they're going to be ready, and I think they're going to ball out. I do still think it'll be a big CMC game because it always is. But actually, I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a close game. It's supposed to be kind of nasty weather there as well. So it might be, who gets a friendlier bounce or, who the ball gets a little slippery and who, commits an unnecessary turnover. So I like the experience of both these teams. I think it's going to be a great game. I'm not ever going to root for the Eagles, but I do expect it to be a nice close game.
Corey, your thoughts?
Yeah, this has got to be a Saquon game. Like, they've got to do everything they can to make sure this is a Saquon game, get him going, keep the Niners offense off the field. Even if that means doing some design plays for Hurts to run. Like my brother said, the weather might be a little nasty, so you might have to run the football a little more, though. I wouldn't sleep on Brian Robinson having a big part in this game as well. He gives CMC a nice little spill when he needs to. When he comes in, he's actually productive, so it's a good pickup for the Niners as far as that goes. But I think if the Eagles can get Saquon going, I think they can find a way to get a couple stops. Brock Purdy's obviously been turnover prone the last few weeks, so I think that Vic will have that defense ready to go. And I think similar to the Chargers, if you can steal a couple possessions and give your offense short field, get some easy points out of that, then you might be able to get this win at home.
Yeah, I think for me, I think the Eagles and the Niners come in two different perspectives where, the Eagles, by all accounts, they haven't really gone through any major injuries that would have them stumble. It's just their offensive play calling has just not been great. Defense has really been the only thing that's keeping them afloat. And in fact, you can probably look at the defense that has won them some close games, and they shouldn't have won. Jalen Hurts hasn't really played up to MVP level like he did last year. That got the Eagles kind of, into the Super Bowl and winning, of course. So a little bit downplaying on all that. Saquon Barkley, for some reason, just hasn't been as much of a focal point as last year. So again, leading back to the offensive coordinator and the play calling and the decision-making, pretty questionable. Although on the Niners side, though, I think what's concerning is with Brock Purdy, he seems to be not the magic quarterback as he was last season. It feels like he's a little bit more turnover prone, not making the greatest decisions. Granted, he doesn't have a whole lot of weapons because, Brandon Ayuk, he hasn't been around. George Kittle's kind of been injured. He's back, though, today. Christian McCaffrey has really been the only guy that has been extremely productive, leading in both rushing and passing. So, and to the defensive side, the Eagles are like top 12 in sacks, and the 49ers ranked dead last in sacks, where they only had 20, and the Eagles had 42 this in the regular season. So I feel like the Niners offensive line getting Trent Williams back is needed because they're going to need everything they can to keep Brock Purdy upright. But with Jalen Hurts and that offensive line, can they actually move the ball and control the line of scrimmage? I think is a huge question mark. And it's actually a very exciting game to Austin's point. I think it is, who's the favorite in this one? I think it's the Eagles are favored in this matchup slightly though. But it's going to be a close one. Philadelphia, it's going to be in the 40s. So it's going to be kind of perfect football weather. So I'm very curious to see these two heavyweights just go at it. And it's got to come down to literally, the final yard in some respects or whatever it is. I don't see it being a high scoring game. I feel like it's going to be a pretty tough defensive battle for both teams, but it's going to be a really good slobber knocker, so to speak, of football. So I think we're in for a real treat.
And there may be a chance that Lane Johnson doesn't play as well. I saw that he's truly a game time decision. So I think that changes the Eagles offensive lineup just a tad bit if he's not able to go.
And Trent Williams is back.
Yeah.
For the Niners.
Yeah. Trent Williams is going to be a big deal, especially on that pressure defense that the Eagles bring. So yeah, Brock Purdy definitely needed his guy back.
And Caleb, did you give your thoughts?
Oh, sorry, Caleb. Go ahead, buddy.
No, you're good. So I was actually going to touch on what Austin said too. Overall, I think this game does favor the Eagles, but I'm going to lean a little differently. The reason I think it favors the Eagles, obviously the weather. It's at home. You got Jalen Carter, pretty healthy now. He said he's the healthiest he's been all season, and I think that's really big for the Eagles. But as far as the 49ers go, Trent Williams is a huge factor in how Brock Purdy played. So I think getting him back makes this game even tighter, if we're being honest. I think this is going to be, like Austin said, probably one of the best games today, if not the best. I expect it to be really, really tight up until the very end of the game. But, yeah, I agree. I think Eagles have a really good defense. Their offense has been, not very good this year. I think if the Eagles want to win, I think they need to give the ball to Saquon a lot. Just give it to Saquon a lot. And then for the 49ers, man, I think they need to give it to McCaffrey a lot. So like I always say, we love to run the ball on this podcast. So both teams need to run the ball.
100%. All right. Anything else before we go on to the next game, guys?
No, sir.
All right. I think I can speak for everyone when I say this is probably Austin's game of the week here with the Texans and the Steelers. I'm sure he's looking forward to old man Rodgers going up against the Texans defense, as the smile on his face tells me so. Austin, why don't you go ahead and tell us your thoughts on this matchup?
This will be quick. There's no need to spend a lot of time on it from my perspective. Texans are going to dominate. This is going to be the widest margin of victory in Wildcard weekend. I think the Texans D-line is going to absolutely obliterate this game. Texans know Rodgers will have to get it out quick, and Texans have a secondary who can sit on that between Lassiter, between Stingley, between Petrie. Like, it's going to be an obliteration. So Texans by a lot.
Okay.
This will be Indiana versus Oregon-esque.
I do want to point out a couple of things. This is going to be in Pittsburgh. It's going to be in the 30s. And so the Texans are on the road. Does that change any thoughts of this game for you?
No, defense and pass rush travels.
Okay. Corey, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, I don't share the same excitement that he does. I think it's going to be opposite of that. I think it's actually going to be a low scoring. I think it's going to be a doo-doo game, honestly, just based on I don't like the Texans offense, just like I don't like the Steelers offense. But I know Steelers defense has been very not Steeler-esque all season, but I also don't think the Texans offense has been, barn burners. So I don't think it's going to be an obliteration, but I do think it's going to be probably of all the games, I think this may end up being the worst game of the week or the weekend.
Okay. Caleb, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Corey a lot, to be honest with you. I don't expect this to be a high-scoring game. I mean, Steelers' defense is really bad, but the Texans' offense is not very good either, besides like a couple broken plays in games here and there. If it is a obliteration, I think it's because the Texans defense scores like 3 touchdowns, if I'm being honest with you, which they are capable of, very capable of doing so. That defense.
Are you guys calling your shots right now? Are you guys calling defense touchdowns like he tried to do with the Raiders?
I call that.
Are you guys putting it in that category? Are you guys putting it in that category?
Yes.
Well, just wait for the Brood takes, one of the final segments. So.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's fine. I just got excited for a second because I'm like, oh shit, are we going to see? Are you saying the Texans defense is going to outscore the Steelers offense?
Yes.
There you go.
The Steelers offense gets 0.
They might. They really might. Yeah.
Sorry, Caleb. Sorry, I thought you guys were good. I thought you guys were calling your shots right here, and I'm like, oh boy, do we have breaking news?
No, you're good. So really, overall, I think this game will be low scoring. But if it is a high scoring game, I think it's because the Texans defense scores a lot of points. But that's just my thoughts on that.
Or even gets a lot of short fields, right?
Yeah,
maybe
or a lot of short fields. Yep.
Yeah. Matt, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
So, fun fact, if all the home teams win this weekend, Denver will play Pittsburgh in the divisional. So that would be kind of fun to see that rematch again. You go back to 2015, Denver and Pittsburgh played each other in the division, and Denver goes on. But and the 2011 Tim Tebow, the DT. But anyway, I digress. I mean, this is not going to be an exciting game, and the Texans have the number 1 defense, rightfully so, with good reason for it. But it depends on what CJ Stroud you're going to get, because he never has an in-between game. Either he is on point and he's putting up 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, or he is 120 yards and 2 picks, no touchdowns, and just can't get the ball moving. So which CJ Stroud are you going to see today? And then Rodgers, again, I hope he's got his dietary supplements, his bedside nurses ready, because that defense is going to be all over him. So, I mean, it's not a very exciting game. Yeah, Pittsburgh, gritted out a tough win against a divisional opponent, but can luck strike twice in a week? So we'll see what happens.
I think I just want to let everyone know, don't be surprised if Pittsburgh pulls out an upset on the Texans. This is in Pittsburgh. It's on the road for the Texans. To a lot of Matt's points about what CJ Stroud are we going to get. And I get it. Like, in my opinion, Houston Texans defense is superior to the Steelers right now, but that does not mean that the Steelers defense has not had good games where they had shocked some people and beaten good teams that maybe they shouldn't have beaten, because that defense has just disrupted whatever the rhythm is of that offense or whatnot, and given more opportunities to back to Aaron Rodgers. And again, I think we were all kind of shocked that Pittsburgh was able to win against Baltimore, considering the rookie kicker did shank a kick, and that's kind of what happened. But this whole season, though, they've surprised some people with certain wins. And I feel like this is another one where don't be surprised if Pittsburgh has an upset over the Texans because of them being on the road and with CJ Stroud. I feel like that's a huge caveat of if this CJ Stroud was progressing to where he had taken good leaps and he's looking like an elite quarterback, somebody that we can say, hey, you're in the top 10 of the entire NFL, Texans are probably contenders. I think they have a great defense, but a lot of question marks on that offense. Is it good enough to get to the next level? I think that's a huge question mark. And that doesn't mean that they can't. I don't know, with the Steelers and Mike Tomlin as their coach and that defense, I can see them just playing spoilers to the Texans. So I think that's what I'm looking forward to in this matchup. And I think it's going to be a low scoring game where, who knows, maybe special teams has to get involved, where the Steelers special teams is maybe going to be the difference maker in the game. And I'm not saying that Texans defense is going to score a lot or if they will score, but again, I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers have an upset today. Or actually Monday, excuse me.
I think you're the only one.
Yeah, we're going to play both sides.
That's fine. Well, I can't tip maybe I did tip my hand with the game predictions, but I'm trying to reserve that for the end of the show. So for dramatic flair, No. All right. Woo! All right, let's move on to our Segi, sponsored by JBW Solutions. Safe or not safe? I'm going to give you guys some teams. You're going to tell me if they're safe or not safe. This segment is sponsored by JBW Solutions. Visit jbwsolutionsllc.com for all safety and OSHA compliance trainings. So, Bills, Caleb, are they safe or not safe?
Oh, I'm gonna say not safe.
Not safe. Okay. Matt?
I'm gonna go not safe.
All right. Corey?
Nah, not safe.
Not safe. All right. Austin?
So safe.
All right. I'm going to say the Bills are safe. All right. Next, the Eagles. Safe or not safe? Corey?
I'm going to go ahead and say safe.
Safe. All right. Matt?
Not safe.
Not safe. Austin?
Not safe.
Caleb?
Not safe.
I'm going to say they're safe. Wow, 2 safes in a row. Maybe I got to change things up now. All right. Texans, safe or not safe? Austin?
The safest pick I've ever made.
All right. Corey?
Yeah, I'll go safe.
Safe. All right. Matt?
If you look up safe in the dictionary, you will find the Texans.
Okay. Caleb?
I agree with Matt. Yes, safe.
Safe. All right. I'm going to say not safe today. All right. Let's see. All right. Let's move on to the last seggy before we get into game predictions. Brew Takes. Brew Takes is sponsored by Videye Coffee. Again, visit videyecoffee.com or visit Amazon to pick up your Videye Coffee today. No BS, but all the caffeine that you could want in your coffee. So, Corey, what is your Brew Take for this wildcard weekend?
Yeah, I have Drake May throwing for 300 yards. I have Henderson going for 100 yards. And I have Justin Herbert turning the ball over 4 times.
Holy crap!
Jeez.
He's not only
I really hope you just jinxed yourself.
I mean, it's probably it's a good likely, but it's a win-win for me because either you guys lose or I get to listen to a Charger fans for one more week, right, Matt?
Yep.
All right, Caleb, what's your Brood take then for this wildcard weekend?
Yeah, so I'm staying away from my team with a 10-foot pole, but I'm going to go Texans. They force 3 picks and hold the Steelers to 6 points.
Okay. Matt, what's your Brood take?
I'm going to say that the final play of the Patriots-Chargers game, Justin Herbert will scramble, avoid the sack, get the ball off, touchdown Chargers. Chargers lose 24-7.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Austin, what's your Brood take?
Mine was going to be close to Caleb's. Luckily, I had a backup ready to roll. So I think Josh Allen gets 5 total touchdowns today.
It's a good one. I'm going to go with the Chargers are going to win today by 2 scores.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
You probably just jinxed it.
My God, Cody.
Don't trust a Raiders guy.
It's a win-win.
If the Chargers lose, Caleb will give away one of his hats.
If the Chargers lose, he has to say a curse word live.
You have to eat goldfish for Brody.
You can say ass.
On the live.
Yeah.
On the live, I'll do
Just the A word is all we're looking for.
just the A word. Apple.
Arse.
Yeah, the Chargers
Goldfish.
played like you can come on the show next week and say the Chargers played like ass.
Maybe. We'll see.
If they do
We'll see.
lose,
I'll have
though,
to
I hope
think
those
about it.
Chargers fans keep that energy. I
Yeah,
really do.
I can't
They've been
wait.
really bold in the live comments recently, so.
Yeah, man, I can't
They're
wait.
already
to do
looking
live
forward to next week. They haven't even made it there yet.
Yeah, we're supposed to lose to the Chargers next week, guys. Did you know that?
Yep.
All right, guys, let's go to our game predictions before we let you guys go to your Sunday morning. Caleb, who do you have between the Jags and the Bills?
I'm going to shock everybody. I'm going with the Bills.
Okay. I'm not shocked, but all right. Matt, who do you have between the Bills and Jags?
That's Matt's shocked face.
Didn't change at all.
It didn't. He was so.
Years of military training. Give me Jacksonville.
No.
Okay. Corey? Austin.
All right, little bro. I'm gonna go ahead and take the Bills.
I got the Bills in this one too.
Dang.
All right, you guys need to join our TikTok lives to know what's going on. All right. Next game up, Niners and the Eagles. Austin, who do you have in this game?
I got 49ers.
The Niners. All right. Corey?
Eagles.
All right. Matt?
OC News don't know balls. Give me the 49ers.
The Niners. Caleb?
Oof. I'm going to go Eagles.
All right. I'm going to go Eagles as well. Chargers and Patriots. Matt, who do you have in this matchup?
Give me the Pats.
All right. Got to stay in the good graces of mom and sis. Okay.
So she doesn't ground me.
Corey?
Yeah, I'm going Patriots all day.
Austin?
Yeah, dude. Drake May for days.
I'm going Chargers for what it's worth. Caleb, who do you got?
Chargers every day.
Of course
Homer.
you do. That's not what you believe.
Yeah.
All right, final game. I should have flipped these games, but it's all right. It's on the list. So Texans and Steelers. Caleb, who you got in this matchup?
Texans.
Texans. Matt?
Texans.
Corey?
Texans.
Austin?
Yeah, Texans.
Give me the Steelers. I'll be the lone wolf on this one. Give me the Steelers. All right, guys. Did we touch on everything? Did we miss anything?
I think we're good.
Poked all around.
A lot of poking around here, huh, Corey?
Got our fingers in there.
Really jammed him in there real good.
What are we doing?
All right, guys.
I'm tired.
Let's go. Let's go home. So we got to thank some sponsors and we'll get out of here. Thank you to Viti Coffee for your sponsorship and all your support. Visit VitiCoffee.com today to get your coffee, and that way you can enjoy brew takes with us every Sunday morning. Visit rivalcodes.com to get your rival gear today. Use rival codes 10 or rival 10, excuse me, to get 10% off your gear. Get that today. They do not only NFL, but NBA, MLB, college sports. So they have a whole line of other rivals that rival codes and such like that you guys get your hands on. So again, use Rivals 10 to get 10% off your gear today. And then of course, Troy from Field Ops. Thank you so much for all your long support. They've been with us in season 1. So this has been fantastic. So shout out to Troy and his crew. If you guys are looking for any field markings for any sports league or sporting events, visit fieldopskansas.com today. Also go to Emporia State Federal Credit Union, the War Room's banking of choice for all things credit union related and banking of choice. That is what the War Room chooses. So thank you, Angie and the crew. We hope you guys had a great new year. We're looking forward to the new year of 2026 with Emporia State Federal Credit Union. And lastly, Jeff with JBW Solutions, LLC. Thank you so much for your support and sponsorship of the War Room as we are recording out of the JBW Solutions studios. Visit jbwsolutionsllc.com today to get all OSHA compliant and safety training regulations completed. They are veteran-owned, community-driven, safety-focused. So thank you guys so much for your love and support for the War Room. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, you guys. If you guys want to see us every Sunday morning and when we go live on Tuesdays to do our recap show, you guys got to subscribe today. And don't forget to share it around. We post reels all the time, but you guys get this live if you subscribe to the YouTube channel. So hit that subscribe button. Also, don't forget to visit us on all social media platforms. We're on X, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I'm sure we're on some other ones that I don't know about, like Caleb's hidden OnlyFans account, but you won't know that unless you subscribe to the YouTube channel or follow us on the other programs. So do so now. Anyways, guys, we will see you guys on Tuesday for our recap show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode of West War Room Rivals. We'll see you guys later.